Hello, friends and fans of the podcast. Today is going to be an interesting episode. We need to be sharp and see that game music is not lame music. If you remember the Mega Man 3 music from 1990, this is something very interesting because, especially as of late, I've been uh, producing a lot of music, my own. I'm not producing anyone else's music, but I've been composing, producing, and mixing and mastering my own music and trying different genres, trying to mix genres, just having fun, essentially just writing what I feel inside me. A lot of it ends up being very, very bluesy. And that's fine. I really do like the blues. I find the blues to be a perfect way to express yourself. Now, the Mega Man 3 music from 1990, it was blues. It was written literally by a person who played blues, but they didn't have the processing power to use real instruments at that time. So it sounds like, well, it sounds like what people my age think of when they think of video game music. It was composed by Yasuaki Fujita. And check this out. You can Shazam video game music. Yes, you can Shazam video game music. It's Shazamable. Is that a word? Well, it is now. Shazamable. Now, I promise you, this man is a real musician. So I need to get this out there. People who write video game music are the real deal. They actually are musicians. They're musicians who, some of them have careers outside of video game music. A lot of them found a niche or however you pronounce it. And yeah, they happened to find this niche in songwriting for video games. And that's exactly what Yasuaki Fujita did. He has a wiki page, and he was active for over a decade, writing music for The Final Fight, Little Mermaid, Eye of the Beholder, Blazing Star, and of course, Mega Man 3, 4, and 10. A musician who wanted to work with music and with all of just, I mean, I don't even know if saying that red tape is the right expression, because I don't think, I feel like red tape means you kind of have to tear through the bureaucracy in order to get some type of audience. I'm not going to say that in order to make it as a musician nowadays, you have to go through red tape. But you definitely need exposure. And I do not ascribe, and I can't stand when I hear musicians say this. I think that some musicians, especially ones that had success at a young age, or the DIY musicians who kind of like self-promoted and who had a lot of success doing that, I hear a lot of them say in interviews, you can do anything if you put your mind to it. And you know what? I actually I think that is the biggest line of crap that comes out of either Hollywood or the music industry, or if you're a stand-up comic or whatever the case is. No, that is not right. You cannot do anything if you put your mind to it. Trust me. And I hear musicians say that. Oh, you want to become famous? You want to, I don't know, make a living as a songwriter? Put your mind to it. It'll happen. Like they're not already. And that's why I really have a lot of respect for people who get into video game music, because they know, and trust me, I know exactly that feeling, because when music is your passion, you want to only work with music all day long, and you kind of don't care how after a while. Now, I'm kind of late to the game. I took off about a decade from songwriting and music production and everything else. And I started late. I started like in my late teens, early 20s, and then by like 23, 24, I stopped for, my God, like 10 years, something like that. Yeah. So, and then I got back into it, and then I realized I don't want to just play piano. I want to add other instruments and everything else. So now I wasn't born into music. I didn't have any encouragement. I really didn't. Because I I started off my life, like a party animal, and I just ignored music. I listened to music, but I didn't create music for years. And I always knew it was inside me, but I didn't create it for years. I was never when I finally got into music, like in my early 20s, I was not taken seriously. I can literally remember people showing up at my house and me asking, like, people who I thought were close friends, like, dude, I've been playing piano for like 6 months straight. You want to hear me play a song? No. And like laughing and scoffing and then looking at other friends like, what the heck's wrong with Artie? And looking back, I can see where that kind of comes off as just corny. Um, so not everyone, especially when you get into music as an adult, not everyone's going to share your enthusiasm. But even as, a youngster, people who start at 3, 4, 5, you know, not just because you start off at 3 years old and you can master an instrument and you've been playing your whole life, that does not mean if you quote unquote put your mind to it, you're going to all of a sudden get a job working only in music so that you can provide for your family and everything. Um, and I don't want to sound jaded. I don't want to sound negative because I myself haven't had any success, and I haven't. I haven't had success over the years. I haven't sold any music. The amount of money I've made from my music is very little, and I am somewhat, taken aback by what big tech does. How they kind of like put the stops up. They almost make it so someone who's trying to promote their own music has to spend a lot of money on advertising and kind of bathe themselves in the system that is set up in order for them to become successful. And I'm not saying that it's not worth the effort, and I'm not saying that it's impossible. What I'm really saying is there are times, and the reason why I'm going on this whole entire spiel of just talking about this is because there are moments when you need to make a decision. You're in your 20s, you're in your 30s, you're in your 40s, whatever the case may be, you want to work with music. You're actually discontented if you're not working with music, and an opportunity comes along for you to write music for video games, or an opportunity comes along for you to write music for TV shows or commercials, and then you realize you can actually, make money doing this. You can make a living. Then you have a decision to make. Do you do that? Do you do that? Now, if you don't do it and you say, no, I want to be recognized as a songwriter, writing what I want, producing my own music, I don't want to have to write music for video games. I want to be in 100% of complete and total creative control. That doesn't mean that, okay, 5 or 10 years down the road, after you make that decision, you're going to find something else. If an opportunity comes along, you need to make the decision to accept that opportunity or to not accept it and perhaps never see another opportunity. That is the is the reality. That's really what is truly the reality. So when I see someone and they say you can do anything if you put your mind to it, no. You had success. You worked really hard and things fell into place for you, and you even created opportunities that didn't exist, whatever the case may be. But every piece that you put down on the table led you to the opportunity that you have. It does not mean if someone wants it the same as you do or puts in the same amount of work as you do, it does not mean that that person is going to have the same level of success. I do not ascribe to that. I just simply don't. I've seen horrible musicians make it big, and I've seen geniuses sitting in the music store giving music lessons at $20 an hour. I've seen that. So I don't really ascribe to that. Now, that doesn't mean you don't put in the hard work. There's a chance you're not going to ever get anywhere if you don't put in the hard work. That's for sure. You absolutely have to work. But it is not like hard work equals your dream. No, hard work should equal contentment. Are we content with what we're doing, with our efforts? Now, when you're content, it doesn't matter. There's no price. It's really hard to define. I'll give you an example. I know that the stresses that I feel at my current job, I feel I like the job function. I like what I do. I know that I would not feel the same stresses if I were working only in music. Now, of course, it depends. I could be working under some tyrant who's, you know, calling me 40 times a day. Did you write that song yet? You need to keep practicing. Did you do this yet? Why don't you come down and practice in front of me? I want to see how you. That could happen, especially in the classical music world. But listen, okay, this rant is over. I want to talk about The Legend of Zelda. I remember playing The Legend of Zelda in the mid-'80s. Not the music now when you play the modern version. I'm talking about the 8-bit version from 1986. I hate to say it sounds cheesy, but they only had 8 bits. You could play melodies, almost only melodies. Even the background music was like a little tap or beat of some 8-bit sound, but you really couldn't layer too many things on top of each other. But all 8 bits of the song from Zelda are like ingrained in my mind forever. Or what's left of it anyways. There's even a point where the background music goes away and then the main lead comes back. And I swear, Koji Kondo, I don't know how to pronounce his name, but Koji Kondo, the composer, was like, okay, let's add some echo for effect. But of course, it's 8-bit echo, so you can only do so much. Let me just say the main reason for doing this episode is because I do not think that music has seen more improvement in any forum in this world than it has in the video game forum. Young kids now, when they think of video game music, are essentially thinking of something very similar to film scores, to movie scores. Back in the 90s, if you thought of video game music, you thought of just really bad sounds. Bad sounds, low-quality sounds. Crap! Music in movies in the 80s and 90s was essentially like music today in movies. There hasn't been much of a change. Music that you bought back then was like music you buy now. Oh, I want to listen to Billy Joel. Well, you can listen to Ben Folds 5, or you can listen to somebody else. There's not this gigantic difference in quality, except now it's actually gotten worse. It's too perfect with, auto-tune and everything else. But today, when someone says about your music, this song sounds like video game music, don't take offense right away. Look at their age. If they're a teenager or in their early 20s or whatever, say thank you. If the person saying it is above 35, then you just simply need to punch their face. They're a jerk. Enough said about that. And even though some of the 80s and 90s video game music didn't have the best sound effects because they couldn't, there is still some kind of identifiable personality in these games. And believe it or not, there are stars in the video game music world. Nobuo Uematsu, for instance, Japanese-born, self-taught pianist and keyboard player, took no lessons. He graduated from college with a degree in English. There it is again, the connection between language and music. Anyways, after he graduated, he joined a band, landed a gig making music for TV commercials. Kind of cool. So here you have a guy putting in the hard work, looking for a path, right? Joined a band, wrote music, did music for TV commercials. But one day in Tokyo, someone from the company Square, that's the name of the company, Square, they see him and they ask him, hey, you want to do a song or two for some video games we're working on? He took the job thinking it would be a little something extra to put in his pocket, right? Put in the bank. He never knew it was going to lead to a decades-long career that would have him creating music for titles like Genesis, Rad Racer, Final Fantasy, Blue Dragon, Lord of Vermilion, Terra Battle, and scores of other games. Honestly, if you hear the theme to Final Fantasy, you forget it's actually for a video game and begin thinking it's the score to some box office hit. It is really done well. And the later stuff, you get to really hear how his piano skills are. Because the later you get with video game music, the more memory you have, the more processing power you're able to use when it comes to creativity. And may I also say, all of this music, or most of this video game music, you can find on Shazam. So if you're playing a video game and you hear something and you're like, what the heck is this? Go to Shazam. There's a chance that it's there. Even the older 8-bit stuff. So if you want to follow a video game composer, Shazam the song. Keep killing bad guys, eating Fritos, and hit Shazam. Now, the dude who probably is the most famous person in the video game world is Koji Kondo, a Japanese pianist and composer. He still works for Nintendo. I'm sorry, I just need to stop and absorb how immensely fun this man's life was, and still is. All right, let me just absorb it. The jealousy is slowly subsiding. Okay, it's gone. Wait, it's back. Okay, no, it's gone. That was just gas. It's gone for reals now. He is actually kind of viewed as the godfather of video game music, and he evolved with the field. As 8-bit became 16-bit, became 32, he went along for the ride and evolved with it. Let's see if you know any of the games he composed music for. Are you ready? This is now we're thinking, Nintendo. I want you to think of Nintendo. So when I say the game Golf, literally, that's the name of the game. Golf. It's Nintendo's version of golf. It was probably the first golf game that Nintendo ever came up with. Of course, after that, they were like, Tiger Woods, play golf and get drunk at the same time. Do all that. Oh, man, my mind is really, I can't do the Tiger Woods jokes. This is a family show. Okay, ready? Mike Tyson's Punch-Out. Golf. Soccer. Yeah. That's the name of the game. Soccer. Kung Fu. The Legend of Zelda. The original. Super Mario Brothers. The original. Super Mario Galaxy. Smash Brothers. And scores more. It just doesn't end. And here's what's funny about Koji. When he was young, he played keyboard in a jazz band. And sorry, that is just good old music nerdery right there. Have you heard the Super Mario's theme? It's simply 8-bit jazz. That's all it is. Go listen to the Super Mario theme. It's 8-bit jazz. It's like, I don't know how much he got paid for it, but he was a jazz musician. He realized he wasn't going to make a living playing in bars. Super Mario Brothers. You know what? I have this jazz song that I was working on. Let me just throw it into this video game, and there it is, and that's what you have. And I'm thinking there's not much of a market for jazz in Japan. I could be wrong. I honestly don't know. But check out how this guy got discovered. So Nintendo sends the university that Koji is going to. They send him a letter saying that they're recruiting for video game music. They're looking for someone who's into sound engineering. He applies and gets the job at Nintendo, this starter company. Okay? Without even having to send in a demo. He could have lied about being a musician. He got the job as a musician writing for video games and sound engineering at Nintendo as Nintendo was starting without having to send in some type of proof that he wasn't a complete and total scam. Then, within 2 years, he becomes a video game music legend. Mike Tyson's Punch-Out was supposed to be like an experimental project. Here, try this. Seriously, go to YouTube, listen to Mike Tyson Punch-Out theme. You can hear the blues and jazz right in the music. You can hear the trills he's playing on the keyboard. Yes, trills, 8-bit trills. You can hear them. I can't really put words to it. It's just kind of amazing when you really stop and think about it. How about Hirokazu Tanaka? That name ring a bell? No? Well, that's okay. He also works for Nintendo as an accredited for composing music for games like Donkey Kong, Duck Hunt, Gyromite, Kid Icarus, Metroid. Go to YouTube and put in the Metroid music. Awesome. These guys are the real deal. They just decided, you know what? Let me look at my life. I'm living in Japan. I am a jazz musician. I'm a blues musician. I'm trying to make a living playing in bars or composing music. It's not happening. Oh, Nintendo is offering me enough money to pay a salary and to work with what I love. Let me see what's going on. They became video game music legends. Now, this 8-bit music is really something to just wonder at. And trust me, these guys had a blast making this music. I can just tell. And Nintendo, if you're hiring, you can contact me. keepitgroovybaby@gmail.com. That's my email address. I'll get my resume ready. But let's look forward. Or let's fast forward now, I should say. We enter the world of Warcraft. What the heck? This is music that you would hear during a Christopher Nolan blockbuster movie. I can't get out of my mind that this music is for a video game. Sorry. Like Hans Zimmer, watch out for Russell Brower or Brower. I don't know how to pronounce any of these names. But this guy's not Japanese. I should do a little better anyways. He has won three Emmy Awards for his compositions, and well-deserved, I might add. He has worked for Blizzard Entertainment, Warner Brothers, Walt Disney, and I'm interested to see what he does next. Same with Neil Acree, who worked on World of Warcraft, Overwatch, StarCraft II. Very good stuff. Now, one wouldn't think so, but I'm not going to be able to keep this episode short. There's no end to this music, and especially when you get to online gaming and all the boundaries are shattered. League of Legends, Dark Souls. I mean, I honestly find the music better than the video game music, this online music. We're opening up Pandora's box here. Online gaming music is better than like 60% of film scores out there, for crying out loud. I mean, even something that isn't horribly dark. Civilization 6, written by Christopher Tin. What the heck? This guy's won a million songwriting awards. I don't know. I honestly don't know. It's really never ending, and this is why I think it's never ending. First of all, video games aren't going anywhere. Second of all, they all need music. They all need music. Now, you can shut off the background music and put on other music, which is what happens in some type of video game competitions and tournaments and things like that. Sometimes there's commentary, so the video is turned down so people can comment. And I was going to interview someone for this episode, but I decided not to. I just want to keep the episode pretty much focused on just the video game music itself. Now, if I continue, honestly, I just need to stop. If I were to continue going on and on and on about all the music out there, I can be here until candy bars cost $10 a piece. Seriously, there is really no end to video game music. And as I started to say before, I really believe the reason why there's no end to video game music, not only are video games not going anywhere, but let's just face it, if you're a musician and a songwriter and you're good, and trust me, the best songwriters in the world are not famous. They're not famous. That whole thing of, if you're good enough and work hard enough, you'll get noticed is a myth. That's not true. It's people say that for whatever reason. It's just simply not true. But if you're a songwriter and you've got some skills, you do a good job, and a video game company contacts you and says, can you make the music for this video game? Or you get some type of contract where they're like, okay, we'll pay you $120,000 a year to do the music for, so many video games, whatever we send you away. And you're currently working somewhere making less, maybe less than half that. Do you turn it down? Do you turn it down? You're going to make more than double your salary. You're going to be working with music only. It's an interesting question, and it's something that only can be answered by every individual as they consider their needs, their family's needs, their own circumstances, whatever the case is. All I'm saying is that there's tons of music to be written for video games, and they're not looking for John Lennon's dead, but Paul McCartney, or they're not looking for, Paul Simon or Mark Knopfler. They're not looking for Pink Floyd to make music for these video games. Quite honestly, they couldn't afford them. But if you want to give some starving artist a 6-figure job annually and say, just write music for the games we throw at your that come across your desk, and all you have to do is watch the video game and write music for it, and then move on to the next game, it's a win-win for both parties. And I believe that's, it seems, and I don't know how much video game people make. I really don't. I don't know how much Koji Kondo made. I suppose I can do some research, figure it out, but I know that they made a living, So I don't know. That is my episode. That game music is not lame music, baby. That's what we need to be sharp and see. Now, I am not on social media anymore, so this is all you've got. You've got my phone number, 1-781-728-5974. Text us, call us, leave a voice message. We'll play it on the air. Or you can email us, keepitgroovybaby@gmail.com. That's it. I'm not on Facebook. I'm not on Instagram. We are done with social media. Is that career suicide? No. This isn't my career. Is it hobby suicide? This isn't even my hobby. This is like therapeutic. All I know is that I believe the podcast has listeners in over 30 countries, and I don't know if I would ever be able to get that audience. And I can tell you right now, the having the Facebook page, having the Instagram page was not, let me repeat, that is what not, even a little, it is not what made the audience grow. It was simply people going into Spotify or Apple and just typing in searches. It was them who just came across my podcast and hit play. That was it. That's how I got listeners in 30 different countries. I paid for some advertisements on Facebook, and when I would release, episodes, I would post them on Facebook and got very little engagements. Like I'm talking like single digits. Single digits. In fact, there was one episode that I posted, and I kept getting updates from Facebook. They just kept sending me notifications saying, you need to boost this post. And I went in and I looked at it, and it wasn't even engagements. It was something like 8 people viewed it. It came across like 8 people. It came across 8 people's feeds. And I'm like, wow. Out of the many people that were following the page. So, yeah. That I don't know. When you I don't want to just completely bash Facebook. I just feel like there's a lot of algorithms, there's a lot of programming behind the upper ups at Facebook that know how to make it so that someone needs to pay for promotion. And I know what they're doing. It's like the Yellow Pages. You didn't get into the Yellow Pages for free. You couldn't call up the Yellow Pages and say, hey, can you just put an ad in there for me? I opened up a new carpentry business. I just want you to put an ad in there. You had to pay. And what's interesting about that, you couldn't measure how many people saw that ad. You just had to see that it was there in the Yellow Pages and then hope that people came across it. The more you paid, the bigger the the advertisement. Sometimes could be a full page. Why do I mention this? Because there is an upside that you can advertise on Facebook. You can do it. It's been done. I've done it. People do see your posts and your advertisements when you pay. What I find weird is it seems like that's the only time people see your posts. Even on my personal Facebook page, which I took down, but I had I don't know, it was in the thousands as far as friends. And it wasn't because I'm popular or anything. It's because I did a lot of networking with other musicians. And there's a lot of music on Facebook, people, sharing their music and people collaborating and what have you. So I ended up accepting a lot of friend requests and sending a lot of friend requests to fellow musicians. And it was up in the thousands, closer to 4,000, I think, than 3,000. I post a YouTube video. I post a new podcast episode, 8 views, 6 views. And then I get messages from Facebook, saying, hey, sorry, man. You want more views? Send us money. I don't know actually if I got that on my personal. I know that on my actual musicians page, which had about 1,500 followers, if I posted a song, it would get like 5 views, and then I would keep getting updates from Facebook saying that I had to boost the post. I don't know. I actually find that just having the podcast out there and sending it out seems to be, I don't know. I think people, by doing searches, are coming across the podcast on their own. We'll see. We'll see if my listenership goes down. But at any case, I'm fine with that. And this episode has been a half hour, so I am going to say goodbye. Thank you again for listening. Please follow us on, wait a second, don't follow us. Just email us at keepitgroovybaby@gmail.com. Send us a text message, 1-781-728-5974. And again, thank you so much for listening. And until next time, this is your host, Artie Astor, saying, keep it groovy, baby.